Hello, everyone, and it's Dr. Allen. Welcome back to our next week of Education 380. And if you're a graduate student, this will be Education 500. This week, we're going to look at websites and e-planning. So why don't we just go ahead and jump right into the content? What this PowerPoint is going to look at and what I'm going to be talking about for the next 10 or 15 minutes is actually the benefits of using websites and, at the very end, electronic planning in your classroom. As the little man there is asking, why do I need a website? Quite simply, it's the 21st century. Everyone in this class has been on a website. I'm sure you're familiar with the internet. We are in an online class. What we're going to look at is what are the benefits of actually incorporating these websites in your face-to-face classes. We're going to look at it specifically through the point of view of a teacher, from a student, and from the parental point of view. All very important and things that'll kind of make your classroom, I think, eventually flow a little better if you incorporate a website. What are some of the advantages for a teacher of using a classroom website? Well, the first one is quite simply, it's a paperless classroom. And what I mean by that, obviously it's more environmentally friendly, but also I think if you've been in any type of school for a placement, you've probably noticed there's papers floating around everywhere. It's kind of a home base where you can store everything. I'll talk about it. Your plan book can also serve as that also, but it's something that you can post and then you can go in there. If you're doing a lecture using Apple TV or a smart board, you can pull it right up. It's almost like using it like the old overheads. So it's a nice place to have things. And again, it's a little more environmentally friendly. I think probably from a teacher point of view also, the accountability factor is very important. If a student says, oh, I lost that handout, or I didn't have it with me, or I left it in my locker, I left it in my folder, I left it in my cubby, no worries. Guess what? It's posted. They can print it out or they can find it very easily on your website, especially if you do what you're supposed to do and post it there. Differentiated instruction. You can post different types of assignments for different groups on websites. Also, I think websites are a great benefit for teachers for organization and management. Again, you can place all your handouts there. So if you can't find them right off the bat, you know a place to go to very quickly and very easily. Instead of digging through a notebook, digging through a folder, you can find it right there on your own website. Also, depending how you design your website, you can put different things on there where you can post a classroom newsletter, you can keep a blog of what you've been doing, you can put classroom announcements, etc., etc. So, that was me speaking a little quick, but there's a lot of things in a classroom website that are an advantage for you as a teacher. I would say probably the most important one for me as an educator, I always liked the accountability because it was a location spot where there was no excuses if anyone forgot anything. It was posted, it was there. And also that kind of made me accountable to make sure that I was planning and getting the things on there and looking over my materials. But all of these are very, very important. And of course, if you've had your planning and instruction type classes, organization is key for a lot of different things also. But with all that being said, there are numerous advantages to using a classroom website. There's a lot of advantages for students also, and one of them I just kind of mentioned. If they would happen to forget their website, their homework or their paper or their handout, they can go right to the website and print it out and find it. It also helps with collaborative learning. You can do different types of exercises that you can post on there, and students can maybe even, depending if you have chat rooms and such on your websites. I never personally did that, but if you would happen to do that in a Google type setting, they can work together even if they're not in the same location. Consistency is another important one. It provides a home base or a location, which I mentioned with the teacher one, but it also is true for parents and students. I think they're always looking for a consistent, a continuous place to go find things, not a million different ones. They know if something happens or life happens, they can go to one spot and get the announcements, they can get the papers, etc., etc. I think students like that a lot. It's that concept of repetition. One thing I will definitely say, make sure you hype up your website in your classroom if you're going to use it, because you got to make students realize how important it is. Sometimes when I would have certain notifications or post certain announcements, I would tell my students they'd have to go on the website to make sure that they get it, to make sure they know where to locate these things. When I would do lectures, in class, I was a social studies teacher. I would make sure my PowerPoints were always posted after class in case they needed to go back. It also helps a little bit with students who may have some accommodations that they could even pull them up. Often I would actually, if I had a class that had a lot of IEPs, I would make sure that the PowerPoint was up well in advance if parents wanted to go over it. So there's just a lot of advantages and such. And again, a lot of this is personal type stuff and classroom based, but it's the concept of it being in one location. And again, I kind of said it, but I think a website being established is a good 21st century habit. Students are familiar with them. Most people have grown up with the internet now most of their lives. It's just something that makes sense. I think students are more familiar or will gravitate more to a website than if you are using things like an overhead projector or the old paper handouts and things like that. It's just, it kind of brings you into the reality of today's world. There are some advantages for parents. I think a major one is communication, especially as you start to get more established. If you post it and you keep your website up to date, there's no excuse for students and parents not to know where to get information. Parents have to get in the habit of looking too. Now, in parents' defense, sometimes it's hard also to get a hold of teachers, and it gives them a place to go, or they know that it can go to get information and look for announcements and such. So again, going back to that student advantage and now the parental advantage, it's that home base. It's the consistency. It's tying everything together. It's the one spot where teachers, students, and parents kind of can all meet, so to speak. Also, helps with transparency. It kind of allows parents to know what's going on, especially when you're putting your handouts handouts posted on the website, putting PowerPoints or other information, blogs, announcements, and such. Also, I think it makes parents more on the ball and gets them more involved when they know they can go to some place and look. As a parent, I can just speak. I go to my son's teacher's website every day just to make sure that what I need to know in terms of homework, of course, posting homework up, knowing what he needs to do. So when he comes home and doesn't have anything written in his planner, I know that I can check the website and confirm that information or not. So again, it just adds a little more. It makes parents more involved. So that's just a brief overview of advantages for teachers, parents, and students. But we're going to look at a little more here. There are a lot of different aspects or ways that you can get websites as a teacher. A few of I guess the mainstream ones are Google, Weebly, and Wix. Also, some schools provide a location for websites on their servers. All of these are effective. I think as long as you have a location to do all those things that I just mentioned to meet those advantages, I think it'll work. And as long as parents are familiar or know to go there and students know to go there, that's what you need to focus on. Now, with all that being said, I personally used Weebly a lot, so I'm going to kind of show you how to use Weebly. We're going to have an assignment in a minute I'm going to discuss. I don't care which one of these you will use for your assignment. You can use a Google. Some people like the Google setup. That's awesome. If you want to use Weebly, fantastic. If you want to use Wix, that's fine. Wix and Weebly are very similar. Obviously, we're not in a school system, so we can't use the school servers. I've worked at different ones with schools. One was called RenWeb. Another one was actually called Option C. They're very similar, and it's just, it was a location for parents and students to go to. But anyway, we're going to focus right now on Weebly and Wix. So what are Weebly and Wix? I kind of refer to them as plug and play type websites, meaning that you can literally build them by dragging and dropping. I don't know everyone's background, but if you took part in National History Day in your high school or middle school careers, they actually had an option where you could enter a website category. They used Weebly for years, I think over a decade. I think they just recently dropped it. But if you did that, Weebly is the exact same thing. Weebly actually has an education account, which is free, and you get a number of student websites too if you want to do activities with students, but I'm going to show you that here in a minute. There is a view of my website that I have built and used for my classes over the years. As you can see, I was a social studies teacher, so I just had Paris as a background on my title page. What I wanted to show you, though, is at the top, you can pick different designs. I tried to keep mine pretty basic. I wasn't trying to build anything that was going to, rocked the internet world, so to speak. I had my 8th grade social studies, 7th grade social studies, and 6th grade social studies materials posted, which by the way helped because if you use it every year, a lot of, obviously, if you're teaching the same subject areas each year, you're probably going to use a lot of the same materials. They're already there for you. So once you get them up there, chances are, you're not going to have to repost them, or you can just rework them over time. I also was a social studies fair coordinator, so I made sure all my handouts were posted there. And as you can see, there's a little more there for other things that we used to do. I had an announcements page. I even taught, one year I taught a section of language arts, so I made sure to keep my materials up there in case I ever needed them. And the aforementioned National History Day. And I have a link to this on our Sakai site if you want to check it out. I have some screenshots I'm going to show you too, but you are welcome to look at it anytime. It's still up and running. As you can see here from the arrows, this is what you're going to see. I have posted a tutorial on Weebly and Wix on our Sakai site if you want to check them out. I have a feeling most of you probably can figure it out without little assistance. Let me add this. You are welcome to drop by my office or email me with any questions, or email me to see if we can set up a time if you can't make my office hours. But as you can see what those arrows are pointing to, that left-hand side, that's what you're going to drag over as you start to build your pages. As you can see, you would drag, hopefully you would take like the title and you would click it right in the middle, and that's where I would write Dr. Allen's social studies page. Also, those things at the top where it says home, 8th grade social studies, 7th grade social studies, 6th grade social studies, these are different pages. You have to build those separately, so you would hit the page tab and then you could work on that separately. So just to reiterate, I'm on the title page and it says build. If I hit pages, it'll give me a new page and I can build that page how I want it. I'll show you what mine looked like. They were very bare bones. I'm going to jump there and jump back here in a sec. But that was my 7th grade social studies page, and I just put literally their handouts up there so they could do it. If you clicked on my 8th grade social studies page, it would be the same thing. The only page that I had that had a lot of fluff on it was actually my title page, and as you can see, it was just a background. I should also make one little point, and again, there's my 7th grade page if you wanted to check it out. There are two different types of Weebly accounts. There's there's just Weebly, and then there's Weebly Education. When you build yours, I would strongly suggest using Weebly Education. It's geared for teachers and students. As you can see, I actually have a couple sites. This is when you're building your sites, you'll see this little location. I have Dr. Course Placements. That's one that I'm actually working on where I'm loading up stuff for materials. I use it as a home base for me to find my materials if I can't. But the one that says My Site, that's the one that you're actually looking at as I use with my students. Also, and I don't know how tech savvy you want to be in your classroom, but once you sign up for Weebly Education, you get 25 student sites where if you want students to build websites for an assignment, maybe for a book report or some sort of research assignment on a topic that you're doing, you could definitely do that. You can add more sites. It does cost money though. I think once past that initial 25, you can recycle the sites each year though if you only want to do it with one class that has 25 or less. But I'm going to show you an example of a student's website that I had. This is one on the Red Baron. We were talking about World War I, and my students had to do this was a 6th grade class. They had to do a little research assignment. So what I had them do was they had to make a title page. They had to type a bio. I didn't include that, but just a 2 to 3 paragraph background and citation page on the biography of the person, in this case the Red Baron. And then they had to do a documentary video. They didn't make the video, they usually linked it up from YouTube, but each page was separate. This helped meet some of my technology type standards that I had to meet in the classroom, plus my social studies standards. This one's I like this one. It's pretty right to the point, and actually Snoopy there was actually a GIF or a GIF, so he's moving. I don't know if you like GIF or GIF. I think I say GIF all the time. But if you look there, Snoopy would have been moving and such. But there was a ton of these. I think I had 40 students in the 2 sections I had, and we did it. They had a good time, and students seemed to pick them up very fast. The only thing I would say if you're going to have your students make websites, go over the directions in good detail and make sure you have your walking shoes on because you're going to be walking around and helping students at least that first day get going with the tech. It's just something that, once they get logged in and established, it works very well. But like a lot of things new, everyone's impatient. So I actually really loved using the websites though. They were a lot of fun, and it's a little bit of 21st century type stuff. What do you need to do for this class though with the website? Well, the first thing you need to do is sign up for either Wix, a Google website, or Weebly Education website. I believe all three are free with limited capacity, but they will definitely do what we need them to do. You're going to create a small website with whatever one you choose to do. I have put up tutorials on Wix and Weebly on the Sakai site. They're both fairly short just to kind of show you how it works. And again, you're free to contact me. But you're going to create that website. And what I want is I would like a title page with your name, like the one I had with Dr. Allen, and what subject area you envision yourself teaching. So mine was Dr. Allen Social Studies. If you're going to be John Doe Chemistry or Jane Doe Algebra, just put it on there. Again, I'm not going to hold you to it, whatever subject matter area you put, but envision it like you would use it in the classroom. You need to have that header, like I said, and then include the following underneath your title page. So you need to make these additional pages. You need to have a link on the top with a handout to something like a video or something related to your content, just to kind of show that you can work the materials. It's not a hard one. So basically what I want is the title page, another page, and then I want you to post something on that page. So you might, for example, I'll have Dr. Allen Social Studies as my title page. I'll create a second page. It may say something like West Virginia History. And on that second page, I might have a YouTube link to something about West Virginia, like the New River Gorge Bridge and maybe Bridge Day. That's basic assignment, just to see if you can use this. I like Weebly. I'm an expert on that, but I'm not going to tie you down. I just want to see something that you can use in the field and to create your own website and that you're kind of used to using it. Again, the tutorials are on there. Contact me if you have any problems. Now, I want to take 1 second and just kind of share one other thing. Electronic lesson planning. When you go out in the field, I know you're going to see a lot of your mentor teachers or cooperating teachers using electronic planning. It's the reality. It's the way of the world. I was using it before I left. Sometimes some people use them in more detail than others. Some people still use Word. If you're not going to use a website, I would strongly recommend maybe getting used to using some electronic planning or electronic plan book. There's different types online. Some are free, some are not. One reason I was going to make an assignment with this, but I decided it might just be best to explore it. We do have a discussion board next week on electronic planning, but that's not this week. I would like you to maybe just take a look at planbook.com. It does cost, I think, $12 a year. I'm not requiring you to sign up for it. Or if you're not going to look at planbook.com, maybe to look at some other electronic planning type resources. Again, it's a paper saver. You can put things on there. Makes your plans more accessible. Also, again, if you're teaching the same subject from year to year, it's probably going to help you in terms of just keeping up to date and not having to replan and rewrite everything each year. Some people may enjoy that, but as I think you're going to find, your plate's going to be pretty full as a teacher, and already having your plans mostly organized. And by the way, in these plan books, you can move the materials around. You're not locked on certain days. It's also just like the website, you can load up a lot of your materials on there and they're there. So if you're talking and you have an Apple TV, which we'll talk about later, or a smart board, you can just pull the handout right up. Also, there's a lot of standards that you can keep in there. Your standards as in your West Virginia standards, your Maryland standards, your Pennsylvania standards, your Virginia standards. They're already loaded up into planbook.com, so you can just click and insert them into your lessons themselves instead of having to write them down and search for them on the West Virginia website or in the books that your school districts give you. And of course, it's a record keeper, again, with what you've been doing last year from year to year, and it's easy to access. Here are some screenshots of my planbook.com account. These are some lessons I did last year from 6th grade social studies. As you can see, I have a little arrow pointing there towards the West Virginia standards. We were talking about World War I, so I just kind of wanted to show you that since I showed you the website and they do connect. I'm not for sure if the lesson that I did with the websites is listed on here, but they're there. It took me literally a minute to make sure all those standards were like included in there. I went in, clicked, checked the little box, and it included the West Virginia standards that associated with World War I. As you can see, you can copy, you can add days, you can move around. You can look at the toolbar there at the top. And again, this was just, this is my 7th and 8th grade social studies. As you can see, there's an arrow pointing to PDFs, and actually above that arrow, you can see a YouTube link. Any resources I used in the class, it's there because it was the next year when I'm looking for things, I knew where to find it. So I would just recommend really considering using electronic plan books when you hit the field. I think I'd be willing to bet that you're definitely going to see some of your cooperating teachers use them. There are different ones. I've always just felt planbook.com was probably the best one that I had used. I did put some other ones up for next week because there is a discussion board related to this. So planbook.com. Before I let you go, just to make sure we're on the same page with assignments, this week you need to make sure you have that website assignment done. That is the title page. You got to create a page, subpage underneath the title page. You need to post something up on that subpage that is connected to your discipline. So for me, it would be social studies, Dr. Allen Social Studies on the title page. I created a subpage for West Virginia history, and on that subpage, I put a video of bridge days up down by the New River Gorge. Also, and I almost forgot to mention, you also have to do a blog. Blog is very simple, I think, but if you look on Sakai, there is a tool that says blog. I've already posted like a little test blog, what you have to do. I just want you to say whether you would use, I don't care which one of you answer. I would probably for this week, since we have a discussion board next week on electronic planning, I would say, would you use an electronic website in your classroom and why not? I don't care which one you answer. It will not offend me, and at least if you think you will not use a website. But it only needs to be a paragraph, just kind of what you think the benefits of using that website would be or why you wouldn't use it. There's a set of guiding questions underneath the blog. You can either respond to my blog or you can create your own blog. But like I say, just a paragraph. Would you use it? Would you not? Why not? And that's classroom websites and e-planning. If you have any problems, please, or questions, please email me or stop by my office during my office hours. Have a great week.